All right, the last part of our notes are about the island regions of Polynesia, Micronesia, and Melanesia. So Polynesia, as you can see on this map, is the largest section, and it includes New Zealand in the south, you can see that, and it actually includes Hawaiian Islands up north as well. But those won't be in the matching for this section of the test. All right, so let's talk about Polynesia. Polynesia means many islands, and that means there are lots of islands. As you go back to this map, you can see there are lots of islands. Now, there are islands that are independent, and there are islands that are not, and sometimes there are regions. So you can see the boxes, that whole area, like here, for example, all of these islands are part of the French Polynesian Islands. And so everything in this territory is French Polynesia. All right, so there are 11 islands: American Samoa, Cook Islands, French Polynesia, Jarvis Island, Johnston Island, Kiribati, Midway Island, Pitcairn, Samoa, which used to be called Western Samoa, Tonga, and Tuvalu. And also remember, it includes New Zealand and Hawaii. Now, of course, the United States controls Samoa, New Zealand controls Cook Islands, France controls French Polynesia, the U.S. controls Jarvis and Johnston Islands, Midway Islands, the United Kingdom controls Pitcairn, and the rest of them are independent, okay? That's not necessarily going to be a test question, but that's just FYI. There are a lot of countries in this area, or island countries, that are not independent. Okay, now do not study Polynesia. Here's the reason why. This is a matching section, and if you study Micronesia and Melanesia, everything else has to be Polynesia. Plus, you wouldn't really have to study French Polynesia anyway, so you can just not study these 11 and probably know where they belong. All right, next area up north is Micronesia. If Polynesia meant many islands, Micronesia means tiny islands. And you can see that on the map, most of them are just dots, and that's about it. It's unlike Polynesia, where you can see the islands of New Zealand or even the islands of Hawaii. Those are much bigger. So Micronesia is small islands. There are 8. But you don't need to study the first one, Federated States of Micronesia. They are independent, but the U.S. has said that we would step in if they need military assistance to be protected because they don't have a military. Gilbert Islands, Guam, a U.S.-controlled island. Marshall Islands also has the same agreement that we would bring our military if necessary to protect them. Nauru, Northern Marianas, the U.S. controls. Palau, and Wake Island, the U.S. controls. So remember, study these 8. Come up with a mnemonic, come up with the first letters. Again, don't study Federated States of Micronesia. That's obvious that it belongs to the Micronesian Islands. So study the other 7. Maybe you can, again, there's 2 G's, there's 2 N's. Maybe you could associate the M of Marshall Islands with the W, just invert it to Wake Islands, Marshall Wake, Wake Marshall, something along those lines. Try to make a mnemonic to remember those. All right, the last region is Melanesia, and you can see that Papua New Guinea is in Melanesia, but we're not going to use that one as well. And so Melanesia means black islands, like lava, black stones, black sand beaches, that sort of thing. Fiji, there's only 4. Fiji, New Caledonia, controlled by France, Solomon Islands, and Vanuatu. And again, Papua New Guinea is in that, but we're not going to match that up. So study these 4 in Melanesia, study the 8 in Micronesia, but 1 is Federated States of Micronesia. So you really only need to study 11 islands and match them up with the appropriate place, and everything else is Polynesia. All right, on your test, this is the map. So you're going to need to know Polynesia, Melanesia, Micronesia, Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, Western Australia, and Northern Territory. This is the map. So it's very simplified map matching, 12 points. So there's 11 multiple choice just over the Australian states and territories, 24 matching for Australia, New Zealand, and Papua New Guinea, and I might throw in a question about Polynesia, Micronesia, and Melanesia. There are 23 islands that you have to match, and I said don't study Polynesia, just study Micro and Melanesia, and then study your map. All right. The rest of the week, you're going to be planning your trip. And so you are going to be in groups of 3, maybe 4, depending on the class. And again, you'll be selling a vacation to the rest of the class, aka the customers. The travel industry is a cutthroat industry, and you need all the tourists you can get to generate money and income for your area, which will ensure your job. So you're the travel agent, okay? You're the travel agency. And so each group will be making a Google slide, which includes visuals, pictures, maps, quick facts, and your sources, and a presentation video that will entice the customers to purchase your travel package. So tomorrow, you're going to be starting to work on this. You have all day, the rest of the day today, and the next several days to work on this. You get to choose your partners and then come up and draw which area you are going to be planning a trip for. Nobody can have the same region. Come up with an agency name. Be creative, but be appropriate. You can use the region you draw. You can use your names. You can just have, terrific travel agency. You can just make something up. You're going to create a Google slide, share that with all the people in your group so everybody can add to it anytime, during school, during study halls, at home, over the weekend, whatever. And then you'll also need to, everybody needs to partake in adding information and sources into the Google slide and also be part of the presentation. So here's what you're going to be researching. You need to have an appropriate map. Everything needs to be labeled the places that you're going. So the state, territory, or country or island's name, any capitals or major cities you're going to go to, maybe even a lake or ocean or beach or mountain that you're going to go to. So you can just Google a map and crop it out, I added some circles so you knew that we were going to go here. Or you could just do something really simple like this. We're going to go to Adelaide, Whyalla, and Lake Erie in South Australia. Okay? So you need to have a map. Put your sources in the speaker notes. You need to know what time of the year you're planning your vacation for. Remember, their seasons are reversed. So you need to maybe look at the next slide, the climate type, average temperature, and rainfall during each month. So June would be a really bad month to go to, but January would be perfect weather, especially if you're planning a lot of outdoor activities. Your length of vacation, it says 7 to 14 days, but I think 7 days is really almost too short. I think 10 to 14 makes way more sense for economics. If you go any longer than 2 weeks, it gets extremely pricey. It's already going to be fairly pricey. If you go 7 days, it usually takes a day or a day and a half, perhaps up to 2 days to get there because of how long your flights are and that time change. You lose time, so you might not have, enough time. So 7 days, I think, is too short. 10 to 14, I think, is your sweet spot, but you can plan for whatever. You got to give me a total cost for your vacation in US dollars. So you're going to Google your airfare for 2. Please plan this trip for 2. So you're going to include your airfare costs, your hotels, the sites that you're going to go to. If you're going to go to this amusement park, how much does it cost per person to get in? If you're going to go whitewater rafting, how much does that cost per person? So you're going to have all that and your transportation. So I need a grand total for how much it costs. And again, no budget, but keep it realistic. So you need to know how much, what is the time change, hours added to our time or taken away from our current time. So again, if it's noon here, what time is it there? Just so you have an idea. Think about what sites might be most useful for this. When you're planning a vacation, things like Expedia, go to a website like United Airlines for airfare, or go to Hilton for hotels, or again, you can go to Travelocity, you can go to Expedia, you can go to any of those sorts of sites as well. Again, I need the climate type for your region, the average temperature and rainfall. Please give me temperature in Fahrenheit and rainfall in inches, because we don't use Celsius or the metric system during the time of your vacation. So if you're going in January, I want the average temperature for your location in January and the average rainfall. Tell me what clothes and equipment I need to bring. If you're going bird watching, do I need binoculars? Do I need hiking shoes? Do I need sunscreen? Do I need a raincoat? You know, those sorts of things. I need to know the name of the money and the conversion rates. Please convert $1 US to your money. How much does that equal? $1 US is, if it's 3 pesos, then I know that if I spend $10 in US money, it's going to be $30 or 30 pesos there. You might only need one, but if you are going to several different islands, you might need to know more than one. Appropriate modes of transportation from site to site, hotel to hotel, island to island. You can Uber, you can use public transportation like buses or taxis or a subway. You might have to take a ferry from an island to another island, maybe an airplane or a helicopter. So of course that's going to add to your price. The visuals are going to be the biggest portion. So you're going to need to have 10 destinations or sites that you're going to do on your trip. Probably 1 or 2 per day, not more than that. It can be, specific. It can be a beach, but give me the beach by name and where it's located. It can be a museum, whitewater rafting. It can be hiking in this place or that place. You can go to, again, a certain destination. It could be a restaurant. So you need 10 tourist sites, and you need 1 picture for each. You can have more than that, and tell me where this is located and where it is. And it might make sense to label that on your map as well. Then your presentation, you're going to use Screencastify or Loom to use your Google Slides and then record just like I'm doing now. It might make sense to write a script so you know what you're going to say, because you might start to giggle or mess up. You might also need to record this more than once. So do not wait until halfway through class period on the last day when it's due by the end of the class period to start recording. Technical difficulties are not excused. Procrastination is not excused. If somebody is absent, they're just going to lose the points. So it's important that you plan this ahead of time. Your presentation is using your Google slide, but being enthusiastic, being really creative. Don't go, oh, I hope you really want to go to Fiji. It's going to be a great time. Say, are you ready for a trip of a lifetime? Have you always wanted to go to Fiji? Well, we've got the trip for you. Notice, it's just selling a vacation package, okay? So again, this is due at the end of the class period on Friday. So make sure that you have everything done and your video. You will submit your Google slide with your speaker notes, with your sources and your speaker notes. So you're going to submit that on Friday and this video. So you will submit both so I can use both to grade. Okay? Again, it's a group project. So everybody needs to do the research and make part of the Google slide and also be part of the presentation, reading the script, explaining things. And so you need to make sure that you can do really well on this 50-point project, which again is due at the end of the hour on Friday.